Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're ranking the best shooting guards in NBA 2K25 MyTEAM here on a tier list. I'm glad that tier lists are finally back because 2KDB is finally up. This isn't even the final server of 2KDB. I'm sure at some point it will be updated to the normal 2KDB website, but v3.2kdb.net is the link in case y'all don't know what it is and y'all want to use it. And because they have card arts for all the cards updated and uploaded there, I now have the ability to do tier lists much more effectively than I otherwise would have been able to, and can get them out to y'all pretty efficiently now, which is what I'm excited about. So in this video, we're doing shooting guards. We got 31 of the best 2 guards in my team on this list. Let me mix up this list real quickly because it has them all sorted by tier, and we don't really want that. We want a better mix of the tiers as we progress. So we're going to do our best to hopefully mix this up to where it's not insanely just the same tier over and over and over again. If we can get a good mix of that, that would be ideal. But with that being said, before we hop into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 40,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I upload every single day, tons of consistent daily MyTEAM content. Would really appreciate it if y'all do subscribe. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. So starting off with Tracy McGrady, who I still think, okay, 31 cards on this list. That means 5 or 6 S tiers. Is he a top 6 shooting guard in the game? Arguably. I don't know if I would 100% put him up there, but he's definitely in the argument. You know who I'm realizing I forgot on this list? I just realized he's not on this list and he should be, is Jack Marin. Whoopsie daisy. Okay, well, I'm staying at the beginning of the video. So if you wonder where Jack Marin is, he is an S tier shooting guard in my opinion. So keep that in mind. I apologize for missing it. If I missed anybody else, I tried not to, but if I did, feel free to leave a comment. I'll let you know where I'd put them on the tier list. But for T-Mac, he's 6'8", amazing slasher. Movement isn't very good. Fade is really good, especially with half-shifty shooter. And I mean, he's a really good card still. Got a solid release. Defensively with badges added, he's very good. I think he's high A. I don't think I'd quite put him S because there are a lot of good shooting guards, but he's very much borderline S tier. Honestly, with Jack Marin not being on this list, it makes me want to put him S tier. I think I'm going low S for T-Mac, and we might move him down. I still think he's really good. I think that's probably the right spot for him. Bradley Beal, I think, has to go C tier. He's undersized at 6'4". He's okay defensively, okay movement-wise, pretty good release, but just not amazing. There's a lot of good shooting guards in this list. I think he's high C or low B. I don't love the card, but I don't hate him either. Kerry Kittles is a good Gems of the Game card, but not an amazing one. He's got a very good release. He's solid defensively, but stat and badge-wise, he's a little bit lacking compared to most of the shooting guards in this list, so I think C tier is probably fair for him as well. KCP is A tier, awesome release, really good defender, one of the best 3&D cards in the game. He's like a better version of Kerry Kittles. Stat, badge, animation, all that, all those ways. I think he's actually very good. I think he even has a little bit of movement. A tier with a really good fade as well. I'm a big fan of KCP. Dominique Wilkins, I think he's C. If he had better badges, he'd be B, because he's 6'8", great slasher, really solid release, but his badges are lacking, and for that reason, he goes C tier. I don't hate the card, but I don't love him either. Scottie Pippen, S tier. Scottie is still one of the best releases in my team, not to mention one of the best defensive cards in my team and a great slasher. He doesn't have much in terms of shot creation, but doesn't really need it to still be one of the best shooting guards in the game. I think S tier is fair for him. Grant Hill is probably low A. 6'8", good release, fast release, good slasher, good defender. Not like unbelievably game-changing statistically, but a very solid card with a fast release who's got a lot of size at shooting guard. Still a very, very good 2-guard in my team. Buddy Hield, in my opinion, kind of stinks. He's got a great release, but outside of that, this Buddy Hield card is really mid. I don't know if I can properly search names yet. I can. Okay, so Buddy Hield right here. I mean, amazing shooter, but he's got no defense. He's got good speed, but he's not much of a slasher. His badges are really lacking. I almost think D tier is probably right. Maybe he's low C. I don't know. I might adjust him if I have too many D tier guys, but I don't think Buddy Hield's very good. I think Dr. J's the best shooting guard, maybe the best card in my team. Exceptional release, top tier SIGs as well. Unbelievable stats and badges. He is basically Paul George with SIGs. He's an absolute god, and he's definitely S tier. Latrell Sprewell, pretty good, B tier. It's not a card you see people use a lot, but he's got a good release. He's solid defensively, pretty good slasher. Kind of a worse Grant Hill, not as big either, but I think he's okay, and I think probably a B tier is fair. Isaiah Ryder has a mediocre release. He's not much defensively. He's just not very good. I think he's B tier or D tier. I think there's a few shooting guards in this list worse than him, but I think he's probably in the bottom 5. I just don't think he's very good. Chris Mullin has a very good release, but he's not, and he's got good stats and badges too, but he's not an elite slasher. Defensively, he's good, but not game-breaking. He doesn't give you much shot creation or anything. Really, all he is, for the most part, is just a catch-and-shoot shooter, and I mean, the badges are good. He is a good card, but I think high B is probably as high as I'd put him. I think I'd rather have Grant Hill, to be totally honest. I'd definitely rather have Jason Richardson, who's A tier, really good release, great slasher, solid defender. Good card, moves even decently well, not amazing movement, but He's a good card. I think he's solid. I think he's B tier, or A tier, I should say. I think Vince is either high C or low B. Vince has Pro 2 Fade and a really good shot, so he's got nice animations in that respect. Doesn't really have SIGs, though, and defensive, I mean, just badge-wise in general, he's just lacking some stuff. He doesn't have Lightning Launch, doesn't have Challenger, Movable Interceptor, On-Ball Menace, Set Shot Specialist, a variety of badges that he is still missing. And while the stats are decent, the defensive stats aren't top tier. I think he's low B, though. I actually really like Vince's release, and I like his fade, too. If you have a badged Vince Carter, Pro Pass Vince is still actually pretty usable. Desmond Mason's going to slide into that B tier as well. I wish his jumper was a little bit better, but he is super athletic. He can shoot pretty well, and he's a solid defender as well. Not a bad card. I think he's B tier. Manu Ginobili stinks. In fact, he might be the worst shooting guard so far on this list. He's slow. He can't dunk. His release is bad. He has a lot of flaws. He doesn't move well. He's just not a very good card. I think he's D tier for sure. Drazen is an incredible shooter, but kind of like Chris Mullen, a little bit limited overall. I think B tier is probably the right spot for him. One of the cheapest pink diamonds in the game, but also one of the worst ones. I just don't think he's that good. I think B tier is probably the right spot for him as well. Raja Bell is Pro 2 Fade and is an elite defender. A really good jumper as well. The Pro 2 Fade helps him when it comes to shot creation. I think he's like low A, high B at this point, but I still think Raj is a really solid card, and I think probably deserves to slot into that A tier still. Brandon Roy, great release, a little bit mediocre defensively, great slasher though. He's like a worse T-Mac. Honestly, he's probably also low A. I think that's probably the right spot for him because his jumper is so good. He's got a better jumper than T-Mac, to be honest. He's just not amazing defensively, but he's not bad defensively either if you add D badges to him. That's what Brandon Roy needs. And overall, I think he's a solid card. I think A tier is probably right. Kyle Korver, best jumper in the game, pretty dang much. But besides that, he's not that good defensively. He's not a slasher. He's not a shot creator. He just has an insane release. And honestly, the insane release is enough to put him out of D tier. But he's not very good, in my opinion, anymore. Anthony Parker. I actually think this card's pretty solid, too, to be totally honest with y'all, man. Really good jumper. Really good defender. Pretty solid slasher. Like, solid card. I know he's been out for a long time, but I still think, like, low A-ish is probably the right spot for Anthony Parker. I actually really like the card. Justice Winslow, super-duper solid Amethyst. B tier, he's got great stats for an AME. He's a really solid slasher. Really good perimeter defender as well, and his jumper is fast. A fast lefty jumper is always nice, and I think B tier definitely for him. Ricky Pierce is terrible. Definitely D tier. That card is bad. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. He's just a bad card. I think he's definitely D tier. Honestly, I think I'm going to move Korver down to D tier as well, and I think I'm going to move Vince to C tier just to even out the list a little bit because I think this is a little more accurate because I don't think Vince is quite as good as the guys in B tier. And Korver, unfortunately, just because of the lack of anything else besides shooting, yes, the jumper's amazing, but I'd take all the guys in C tier above him personally. Jimmy Butler. Also A tier, probably. Is he S? I really wish I'd added Marin on this list because Marin's definitely S tier. But I think with Marin not being on the list, I think I'd put Jimmy in S tier because I'm looking at the rest of this list. I don't know, man. Maybe he's high A. His jumper's not bad. He's really good defensively. He's got great stats and badges. I think Jimmy's actually very, very good. He's a little bit overlooked because he is expensive. But he's got great speed, good shooting, great dunking, super versatile defender, and very complete badges outside of shooting badges, which if you add Limitless, Shifty Shooter, he's got pretty much everything you need there as well. Maybe Brick Wall, Movable Enforcer, but overall, a very complete stat and badge-wise card is actually, I think, really good. I think I'd go S for him. I think I'll go S as well for Andrew Wiggins. Despite the fade not being great, he's like a worse Paul George. He's 6'8" with a very nice release, elite slasher, really solid badges all the way around. Great card. He's like a better Grant Hill, worse Paul George. I think low S, like worst card at S, but still very good, is probably the right spot for Andrew Wiggins. DeMar DeRozan is not that good, honestly. His jumper's pretty mediocre. His stats and badges are okay. I think I'd put him in either B or C. I don't know. He's not bad, but his jumper's not very good. I think I'm going high C because I don't like the jumper very much. I think that's probably the right spot for him. Albert King is like a very good budget shooting guard. He's got a good release. He's a really solid slasher, and he's a good defender. He's actually pretty complete statistically, and I like his jumper. I think for an Amethyst, he's also very good, just like Justice Winslow, one of the better Amethysts in my team. ML Carr also slots into the B tier for me. Very, very good defender with a fast release. Doesn't do much else, but he's an elite level defender with a very fast jumper, and that is good enough where he's got decent athletic ability as well, where I think low B is probably still fair for him as well. Doug West is awesome. This card for 40K, 50K MT is probably one of the best valuable cards in the game period. Has really, really good movement, great dribble style, great escape, good behind the back, and a very fast jumper. And with defensive badges added, he's a super solid defender as well. He's a really nice card for his price especially, and I think A tier is probably right for him. Paul George is S tier. He's not better than Dr. J, but every other shooting guard in the game he is. He's the second best shooting guard in my team. He is an absolutely incredible card with really no real flaws at the shooting guard spot outside of not having the best SIGs in the game, but I think he's still incredible. I think he's a better Andrew Wiggins, and I think S tier is right. And then you got Brandon Miller, who is another, in my opinion, A tier shooting guard. Looking at this list, I almost think the A tier is a little too big, but I don't know who I would move down because I honestly like all these cards. And then Mullen in B tier feels like a little bit of an outlier as well because I think he's a little bit better than the B tier, but I just don't love his shot creation or his slashing. I don't know. This is tough. These tier lists are always tough at the end because I want to adjust things, but I don't really know who I would move up, who I would move down, how to adjust this list properly. And so I think this is what we're going to leave it with. Brandon Miller, though, definitely an A tier point guard or shooting guard with the right defensive badges added. Again, he is elite, fast release, really good slasher, 6'7", big player build at the shooting guard position. He's another very, very good card. So with that being said, I think this is how we're going to leave the tier list. Y'all may not agree with everything, but I think it's a pretty accurate list here today. I hope y'all did enjoy the video. If you did, make sure you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.